Florida's property tax debate is taking another turn, and if you're a homeowner, renter, business owner, or someone who depends on local government services, this is a story worth watching.
A double hit today. First from a judge who said the ballot language is biased, and then from the Florida Sheriff's Association, which is urging voters to reject it altogether. And 2 local sheriffs are now among the loudest voices against it. Fox 13's Evan Axelbanks in our studio with more on this. Evan, what'd you find out here?
Well, local sheriffs, including Grady Judd of Polk County and Bob Galtieri of Pinellas County, are using the words scary and devastating when it comes to what impact it could have on local budgets. The title of the amendment is Save Our Homes from Excessive Property Taxes, which a judge ruled today sounds more like a political slogan. The judge said it is not fair or neutral because it advocates a policy position and that the language is designed to bring an emotional response. The judge said, simply put, the proposed ballot title does not state the basic legal purpose of the amendment. It endorses it and diverts voters from its actual effect. The ballot summary then sets forth 3 political taglines: ensuring funding for core services, protecting small businesses, and ensuring fairness for Florida residents, giving reasons why voters should vote for the proposal. But the purpose of a ballot summary, the judge says, is to explain what an amendment would do, not to advocate for its adoption. So the judge ordered it to be rewritten. The Florida Sheriff's Association ripped the amendment as well, with Sheriffs Grady Judd and Bob Galtieri leading the charge.
The legislature did no financial analysis on this constitutional amendment that passed before they voted for it. You need to know it's going to affect response times. It's a train wreck. So tell your legislators to go back to work next session and give you meaningful, appropriate, well thought out, well managed, well researched tax relief.
It's really just squeezing the balloon, because one of the things that could happen is, while their property taxes could get cut when government is faced with having to gut things or try and keep things above a water line to some degree, is that they're going to institute different fees and different other taxes and other things.
Amendment 3 would increase the homestead exemption from $50,000 to $150,000 in the first year. Then it would increase it to $250,000 in the second year, costing local governments an estimated $12 billion. A poll released 2 weeks ago showed 61% supported it in theory, but only 45% support it when told of the shortfall that it could create for local budgets. The Attorney General now has 10 days to rewrite the amendment.
Judge ruled that it's unlawfully written under Florida law. The Office of Attorney General, is called on to rewrite the ballot language to be consistent with the law. The team is looking at that. This just came down. We got it this morning, so we're giving it a hard look, and we'll have updates soon. Sorry, I don't have anything more specific right now.
School taxes have been exempt from it, but there are no specifics about what other services could be impacted as part of the bill. Text, Mark.
Amendment 3 is still scheduled to appear on Florida's November 2026 ballot. The proposal would increase the homestead exemption for qualified homeowners for $50,000 to $150,000 in 2027, and then to $250,000 in 2028. But here's something important. The increased exemption would apply to non-school property taxes. School district property taxes would not be included. And now the language voters see on the ballot is changing. A Leon County Circuit Judge ruled that the original ballot title and summary were misleading and ordered the state to rewrite them. The judge did not remove Amendment 3 from the ballot. Instead, Attorney General James Uthmeier has been ordered to prepare new ballot language that more accurately explains what voters are being asked to approve.
Melendez is off on assignment, but we're here mainly because a bit of a shock across the state.
Yeah, it's what they call an emergency pod.
It's an emergency pod. Well, I mean, listen, an emergency right now coming out of Leon County, where the state has been informed that they're going to need to rewrite their ballot summary for the property tax amendment, Prop 3.
The judge basically saying both the ballot title and the ballot summary are misleading. And we want to point out, as you said at the top, this is just the language.
Yeah.
This doesn't change anything that the legislature passed in the special session, approving this property tax amendment for the voters. But what the judge is saying is that this is misleading and it's defective.
Fundamentally, the actual language of how this would be implemented, that is staying the same because that's what the legislature passed. What is going to go before voters is the question here. Now, there's two things to really unpack. One is what does the state do next? Because they've got two options. This will either go to our Attorney General James Uthmeier. He can rewrite it in the next 10 days, or the state could appeal this, which would drag this out. There's still a little time. We haven't started printing ballots for the general election yet, but an appeal process could delay this. I would imagine they'll just have the AG rewrite it and put something else before that maybe will pass muster with the judge.
And let's talk about if they do, choose that path, they would have to start with the ballot title, because the ballot title is Save Our Homes from Excessive Property Taxes. And this judge is saying the title is more akin to a political slogan. It's not fair or neutral. He says, quote, it advocates a policy position to stop excessive property taxes. So he's saying the language at its core is endorsing basically the approval of the raising the homestead exemption.
So under Florida law, ballot summary can only be so long. There's one carve out, and this actually falls within that carve out. And the carve out is if it's dealing with how revenue is collected and generated, you have a little bit more leeway to write things longer, but you do have to be fair, neutral, unbiased. And the judge, as you said, it already came out and said, no, this was clearly trying to put a thumb on the scale and get voters to vote one way or the other. The actual, you brought up the title, Save Our Homes from Excessive Property Taxes, but it starts immediately and says, this benefits Florida taxpayers by, and then starts listing the reasons. This isn't a description as much as former Senator Brand has said very eloquently already, this is a political slogan. It doesn't belong on a ballot.
Yeah, advocating one position, which is the position of Governor Ron DeSantis and supporters of raising the homestead exemption. Speaking of raising the homestead exemption, I mean, you look at this ballot summary, it talks about exempting the first $250,000 of a homestead's value from taxation. Now, that's technically true, but the $250,000 takes effect in 2028.
Yeah.
So the judge points this out, that the homestead exemption initially is raised to $150,000. Nowhere in that ballot summary, at least from my initial reading, does it say $150,000.
Yeah.
It goes straight to the $250,000. Probably to make it sound a little more appealing to voters.
That would be kind of what you would imagine. And then it goes on to say, ensuring funding for core services requires local governments to use remaining property taxes solely for core public needs, including public safety, education, schools, and infrastructure, and natural resources. That leaves out a lot of other things that people tend to like their governments to do. It also gives the impression that there's enough collected to handle all of that. And we've seen group after group, city after city, county after county come out and say, we can't do what you're going to ask us to do with the money we've got if you cut into the property taxes. The Florida Sheriff's Association this week put out a statement basically saying they have deep concerns about Prop 3 and what it would do. And cities are looking at this and saying, we've got obligations, be it our retirement, pension, debt service, all of that we can't touch. And does that fall under core services? So again, you're seeing a lot of people raise the red flag on this one. But at the end of the day, this will be on the ballot in November. The only question before us is, what's it going to look like?
Yeah. Will the title be similar to Save Our Homes from Excessive Property Taxes?
Yeah.
It sounds like the word excessive will be stricken, same with Save Our Homes.
I think what you've got here is you've got a judge giving the state some guidelines and some kind of guardrails and saying, here you go, keep it within these four corners, bring it back to me, and we'll get this on the ballot. I would imagine they're going to have Uthmeier just rewrite this and get it before the judge because, again, the clock's ticking.
Yeah. You don't think they're going to appeal?
If you appeal, you're starting to run up again. I mean, we have the primaries in 2 weeks. After the primary, we're going to start having 67 counties, 67 supervisors of elections start laying out their ballots. Now, they're going to have a space for this. They know how much space it's going to take. But eventually, those ballots have to go to the printer.
Yeah.
So you're starting to get into some, as they say, where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll wait and see. We'll monitor this, of course, every step of the way.
Governor Ron DeSantis has said he disagrees with the ruling, but that the state will comply.
Legislature passed, put the amendment on the ballot, put the summary on the ballot, and they sued on it. And a judge said, well, you can't have this title, this or that or the other thing. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that, but the reality is it goes to the Attorney General. The Attorney General rewrites it. I've actually seen, some of the drafts. It's great drafts. It's going to be very good. It's going to be very clear for voters what's on there. It addresses what the judge said, even though we don't necessarily agree with the legal analysis. It's fine. It's going to be a very good summary, very straightforward. People are going to know you're going to get tax relief. You're going to get increased homestead exemption, if you're for it. So that's going to happen. That will, of course, it'll be on the ballot. It'll just be with a little bit different summary than what the legislature passed, but I look forward to doing that. The problem is there's not something you can do in Lee County or in Tallahassee that's just going to, your grocery price is going to be reduced by half. Elect me and your grocery. I mean, when politicians are saying that, it's snake oil. They're full of it. There's not, maybe federally there's things you could, but at the state level to say you're not going to pay as much for groceries, you're going to do that, I'll cut it in half. I hear some of this stuff and I'm just like, trust me, that's not the way it works. But the one thing you can do to give people relief that's solely within the control of we the people with our government and the taxing authority is you can provide exemption for homeowners to where they're not paying as much tax and eventually will pay a small fraction of what they're paying now, if that amendment were to go through.
Meanwhile, the debate surrounding Amendment 3 continues. Supporters say the proposal could provide significant property tax relief to homeowners. Opponents warn that reducing property tax revenue could create challenges for local governments and could shift some costs onto renters, businesses, and other taxpayers. Public safety organizations have also raised concerns about how changes in local revenue could affect police and other services. And that's why this conversation isn't only about homeowners. It's about renters, it's about businesses, local government, and public safety. It's about roads, infrastructure, and community services. And ultimately, it's about how Florida chooses to pay for the services communities depend on. The amendment will require at least 60% voter approval to become part of the Florida Constitution. So before November, don't just listen to the campaign slogans. Read the amendment, watch the revised ballot language, ask questions, and understand what the proposal could mean for you, your family, and your community. This is your community. This is your vote. And Pasco Connect magazine will continue following the Florida property tax debate and keeping you informed.